Okay, how's that?
I can totally hear
Oh,
you. You
good.
sound good
Perfect.
to me.
Perfect.
Do you hear
Perfect.
me?
Perfect. Yep. Good. Okay, we're good.
Okay. So
We are good.
you look good.
Oh
Not
gosh.
like you haven't showered.
Okay, well, I did take a shower just for you,
I
and I am
appreciate
wearing
that.
pants.
I appreciate you on the fly going with it.
Okay, this time this is your last chance though.
What? This is
You
just
that's
the beginning. What are you talking about? Next I have you up as one of my live show guests because I just started doing those too.
Oh gosh. On Zoom?
No. So I started
Oh.
doing those back in January live, like in front of an audience in New York.
Oh, well,
Like
that's more fun. I'd much rather do that.
Hi, I'm Kara, and this is Really Famous. My guest today is Tim Daly. Yeah, so this is actually Tim's third time on Really Famous, and it is the fourth time that we have sat down together. Now, technically, we weren't really together. We were together online through Zoom. So yeah, I have obviously adapted to remote interviews, and I have to tell you, it's not really what I thought it was going to be. I was reluctant at first to do remote interviews. I am all about the face-to-face, in-person conversation. But as it turns out, I'm actually enjoying them. And it's kind of cool because I can reconnect with people who've been on the show before already. And one of those people happens to be Tim. So if this is your first time listening to Tim on the show, a little background. He was recently in Madam Secretary on CBS. He played Henry McCord. His wife on the show was played by Leoni, who is his real life partner. Tim also played Joe Hackett in Wings, if you remember that. He played J.T. Dolan in The Sopranos, and he had quite an interesting storyline with my friend Michael Imperioli. Tim's also the voice of Superman, and early in his career, he was in Diner. His sister is also very well known. Her name is Tyne Daly, and we talk about her as well. Even though I was reluctant to do these remote interviews, this is a good example of why I am no longer reluctant. Sometimes when I see someone on the screen, especially somebody who I feel like I've bonded with, it's actually really great, and it's a really comforting feeling. So when I dialed up Tim and I see him on the screen, I loved it. It was so nice to see him again during all of this. Now, there were some technical snafus. We actually had to stop and restart several times. Luckily, the audio actually sounded good while it was recording, but I didn't know that at the time because on my end, I was hearing a lot of feedback from Tim, and I was worried that you wouldn't be able to hear it either. So anyway, I left all of that in so you can see exactly what we went through, and maybe it'll entertain you. So again, this is our third podcast. If you would like to listen to the first and second, definitely do it. I left links in the show notes, and we talked about very interesting things like Tim's family, his childhood. We talked more about The Sopranos and Wings. So tune into those if you would like first or later. And there's also a video. I asked him to jump on the video, and I wanted to run it on YouTube because I have a lot of fans there now who like to watch the show. And you can do that too. So if you would like to see Tim and me on Zoom, just go to youtube.com/reallyfamous and make sure you tap on the subscribe button and the little bell so you get notified when there's a new video up. And one last thing, I'd like to give a big, huge thank you to the Madam Secretary and Tim Daly and Taya Leoni fans who helped me spread the word about today's show by sharing it on social media and introducing the show to lots of friends and followers who've never heard of it before. So I cannot even express to you how helpful that is. Every time you post about it on social media and you tell everybody about Really Famous and you say, hey, this is a great interview, you'll love it, tune in. It really helps me and it really helps the show a ton. So to everyone who has done that, thank you. It means a lot. Okay, and here we are, Tim Daly and me. So what have you been up to, Tim?
I've been contemplating my navel, trying to decide if I should pick the lint out of it No, I'm just listening. I'm like everybody else. I'm just trying to survive, it's been such a weird time because my sister Tyne was with me for 3 weeks, and she was quite sick with this fucking coronavirus. And she wasn't in danger ever because her brand of it was not something that was respiratory. It was more in her innards, her guts. So she was really uncomfortable, and she's not a very good patient. But I nursed her back to relative health, and then when I realized that she had a better chance of surviving the coronavirus than surviving me, I handed her off to my other sister, who is now putting the finishing touches on her recovery.
Wow.
Um,
So wait, so how did you get to her? Like, so were you guys together first or no? You just knew she was not feeling well, so you were like, I better go take
no,
care of her.
she wanted to get out of town, out of New York, right?
Hmm.
And she had a cold, and so she thought. And so I brought her out to the country where I am, and she was not doing well. She was having these terrible chills and fevers and stuff. So I, got her to a doctor and got her tested, and lo and behold, there she was with this stinking thing.
So were you nervous and was she nervous? And like, what about when the test came in, the results came in?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's scared, right? Everybody's scared the whole time, which is what I loathe about this particular disease, which is that there I was with my big sister who was feeling really poorly, and I couldn't give her a hug. I couldn't give her a kiss. I couldn't soothe her, in her misery. And I couldn't hug my other sister who lives close by, and I couldn't. I wasn't with my beloved who I couldn't get a hug from her. So it just felt very isolating and very inhuman. Not to be able to touch people and comfort and be comforted. But
Yeah.
uh, anyway, we made it through that time, but I was thinking about, and I'm not the first person to have this thought, but in times of tragedy, mostly people are able to hold each other and be together and comfort each other physically, which is a very human thing. And now here we are on Zoom, and it feels like we're turning into Wall-E. Remember Wall-E, that movie where people just sit and stare at screens all day long?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's
Um,
crazy. Like, do you have a prediction about what's gonna happen next?
I'm so tired of predictions. I'm tired of
Yeah.
speculation. I'm tired of all the models that tell you 11 different things. I think I'm gonna really try hard to remember, the Serenity Prayer and take things one day at a time, because that's the
Totally.
only way that I will get through this. If I start going off into the future, I'm just toast. Um, anyway, yeah, so I was scared, and Tyne was scared, and but I got her better, and I was tested twice, so I think clear of this nasty thing, unless both tests are wrong, in which case, who knows? But again, I can't speculate. I'm just going to try, use common sense and try to be safe. And I feel great physically.
Yeah. Well, that's good though. I mean, the fact that you were taking care of her and you didn't test positive twice, that's good.
I guess so.
Because it's supposed to be super contagious.
Yeah.
So, all
So
right.
maybe I have some, I don't know, force field or something. I don't know,
Yeah,
or I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
lucky.
So, how about this whole break from, because it's also like this is kind of happening to you at a weird time too, right? Because it's like an end of an era almost, not an era, but you've just finished Madam Secretary. So it's like almost perfectly timed, right? It ended and then this happened. So you weren't like in the middle of a whole series or whatever, or are you working on something else that I don't know about?
No, I mean, I have some stuff that I'm producing that I'm working on getting going, which is all on ice right now, which is really frustrating. But yeah, I mean, that part worked out well. But I think that I, like most actors, have a certain amount of uh, innate anxiety about the prospects of working or never working again, and this heightens that anxiety, I must say. Uh, Even though I know that I will be fine. And it's it's funny because I hesitate to make any comments about how I'm doing or what I'm struggling with during this, because my circumstances are so much better than most of the people who are dealing with this. And yet I think that we all have to have compassion for each other, because everybody is going through different stuff. Everybody has different needs, and this sucks and it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
No matter where you are. And I just hope that all the maniacs who feel the need to walk around with guns can put the guns away and just have a conversation with people about what they might need, or what they might do to help everyone, rather than being so selfish and babyish.
I know. I have to say, this is one thing that's starting to really disturb me, is how it's becoming like this political argument again. Like this is the kind of thing where I feel like it's a no brainer. Everybody should be on the same side. So like, what is all of this going on? It really disturbs me. And sometimes when I look at the news, it's not just the bad news about what's going on, but it's like all of this, this political stuff that drives me crazy. Like, I don't even get it. I mean, I could go on a rant right now about everybody who, right, like you're saying, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to go there, and I'm like sick of it, and it just is
Yeah.
so unpleasant. But I feel like the big thing is we should all be like, all right, let's all take care of each other right now. That's it. It's simple.
Yeah, it is simple, and yet it's complicated because, in my opinion, um, obviously the greater New York area is going to be hardest hit, because everybody's packed into subway cars and Long Island Railroad and, buses. I mean, everybody is, packed in together. There's a dense population. And I totally get that, in Wyoming, there's a whole different set of
Yeah.
problems. And so, the challenge for the federal government, such as it is to, try to come up with a one size fits all thing, which doesn't work, because we're an enormous country with enormously different problems and situations, and just physically where we live is so diverse and different. So I just think that it is a time when, as I said, we need to have compassion and have conversations, rather than trying to bully each other into doing stuff and saying, my problems are worse than yours. It's not a contest.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's stumbling through this.
Yeah. All right. So will you ever work again?
No, I doubt it. I do. I think I'm finally obsolete. I think this is the universe telling me, Daly, retire. No one cares. Just go and, be a farmer someplace.
Yeah, no, everyone cares, and that's not what the universe is telling you, but you're used to this. Like, I feel like you should be equipped you're in a freelance business, right? This is how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
You're like super busy with something, and then you're not. And you don't know when the next thing is going to be, and then suddenly it comes up. So you're kind of like,
that's true. I mean, I think that in some ways actors might be better equipped to deal with this, because they are chronically unemployed and feel at a loss. But the other problem for actors is that, we're big like emotional babies, and we need to be with people and like hang out and have people tell us how great we are. So when we're not with people,
yeah,
it gets a little rough also, because you can't go and have coffee with your buddy who's also unemployed and bitch about how the business sucks and there's nothing to do, and your crappy audition, it's just crickets. I don't know if you've seen, there's a great video going around on YouTube, I think, of a guy sitting at a piano, and he starts singing that classic tune. He goes, "There's no business," and then he just stops.
It's perfect.
Because there's no
business, right? Yeah. That's tough. I mean, right, I know it, and I get it. At first, when I was like, oh, great, what am I going to do now? Because I always insist on in-person interviews. I don't do any, I always say no to somebody who wants to do a phoner or whatever. To me, it's all about being in person and like face-to-face. You're in the same, you and I are, I guess, technically face-to-face, but we're not face-to-face,
It's not the same thing. I mean,
it's not.
The other thing I worry about, and this is
All right,
really
hold on one sec.
selfish.
I need to
Okay.
pause for a second before you get selfish. I'm getting feedback on your whenever you talk. Do you hear that or no? Do you hear
No,
yourself talking? Sam, where'd you go?
I'm right here. You can't hear me?
Oh, shoot.
Wait,
Do you
wait,
hear
wait.
me?
I hear you perfectly. You don't hear
You
me?
can't hear me at all? I
No, I
don't
hear
hear
you
you
perfectly.
either.
I hear you.
Shoot, what just Oh, you know
I hear
what?
you.
You
What?
hear me?
Yes.
I don't hear you. Let's do this. Can we cut the call, cut the Zoom, and then just log on one more time? We'll start it again.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to end the meeting and then we'll start. Then just click on the link again and we'll start it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you're about to be selfish. You're like, I don't want to sound selfish, but I have no idea what you're going to say.
Oh, just that I'm distressed by this. I mean, we just had a Zoom problem, but I'm distressed by the the wait one second. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm distressed by the Zoom of it all because um I think that we were just talking about being in person,
Yeah.
um, and speaking with people in person. I think that so much of the way we communicate is by, call me woo woo, but some kind of energy, some kind of vibe, some kind of pheromones that we pick up from another person. And I've been really bummed out that over the last 20 years, for instance, auditioning has become the responsibility totally of the actor. People of significant note are sitting in apartments trying to iPhone auditions and send them to people. I don't know how any director worth anything could look at something that someone recorded on an iPhone and get a sense of what they could actually do. They can see what they look like, but um, not being able to know if that person is flexible, is able to take direction, is just an asshole that you don't want to hang out with. It's impossible on a little iPhone video. And this is just removing us one step further from our humanity. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I
I
sound like,
wonder, do you think more of that will go on after this? Do you think people will be like, oh, well, it's so easy just to jump on Zoom or just to take your iPhone audition?
I hope not. I hope it's the exact opposite. I hope people say, I can't stand this fucking Zoom. I'm not going to do it. I need to be, I need to spend less time gazing at screens and more time being with human beings. I
I
think they're
hope
going to
so
be
too.
hungry for it.
I hope so. Right. Like again, with the predictions, who really knows what how is everybody's going to feel? But like, that's how I feel. But I always liked it then. So maybe it's like people who like that then will still like it and crave it more.
I mean, that's what I fear is that I'm just an old guy who's like basically saying like, get those damn kids off my lawn. You call that crap music, turn it down. I can't hear myself think. That's where I'm headed.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you on that. And to me, like the one thing that I crave most of all is just to be sitting down like at a cafe and just totally casually just sitting there with someone and talking and then just looking around and talking and whatever. That's everything.
Well, the other thing is that one of the things that I love about being an actor is being able to observe human behavior, to spy on people, essentially,
Love it.
who are unself-conscious, walking down the street, having conversations, having dinner, and watch what they do, and try to read their body language and imagine what their life is like. And when you can't do that, you just get all your ideas from TV shows, and that's sort of like and that's what I like to call the clang bird. Have I told you about the clang bird?
No. What's that?
It's a mythological bird which flies around in decreasing concentric circles until, with a loud clang, it flies up its own asshole and disappears. So, if artists only get their ideas from watching other TV shows, it will be a clang bird medium, and it will just disappear eventually. The epitome of the clang bird moment for me was probably about 20, almost maybe 25 years ago. I was watching the Emmys, the Emmy Awards, and the Oscars won an Emmy. And I was like, okay, this is a clang bird moment. Show
Totally.
business has just flown up its own asshole, and I'm out. And
Right.
I don't think I've watched an award show since.
Well, isn't that what the whole award show thing is basically? That is exactly award shows, period. It's all about that.
Award shows are about making money. You know,
Okay.
My dad said, I mean, there was, once upon a time, it was, I think, a celebration of good work, and it still is on a certain level. But uh, I mean, a lot of people are selling stuff. They're talking about what they're wearing. It's for the fashion industry. It's advertising dollars. It's huge viewership. It's getting all these fancy people together to, watch, to be watched by the public. As my dad said once, he didn't have a lot of wisdom, but he once said, whatever the question is, the answer is money.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that's sort of true, especially in our culture.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't like watching award shows, period. And everybody always thinks, oh, well, since you what you do, I'm sure you're all tuned into whatever. I'm like, I really honestly try to avoid the award shows, but at some point I have to be aware of them because people do talk about them. But
of course.
Yeah, the whole thing, right? Everything is money, 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 and everything will change after this. So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I feel like this is really good too, because we've already talked a bunch of times before. So we got all those regular questions done. So I'm going to tell everybody if they want to hear about, a certain thing or whatever, they can tune into the other conversations. But here's a question I have for you is, what question are you tired of being asked? Is that a weird question?
Oh boy. I would have to think about that. I mean, there are sort of the really banal things like, how much are you like your character? I mean, you're talking about interviews or in life?
I mean, I guess, you know what? Yeah, I guess in interviews, because in life, you're not asked the same questions in life, are you?
No. How much are you like your character? That's one that's really hilarious. And and there's other ones that are sort of cute, but that get old, and these happen. They're not in interviews, but more on the street. When someone says, "Are you him?"
Are you him?
Are you him? I was like, I don't know.
Right.
There's this assumption that have I seen you before? Or well, no, what is it? Well, there's the dialogue which goes, "Are you Tim Daly?" "Yes, I am." "No." "Well, yes." "No." Okay, I'm not." "Are you?" "Yes." "No." It's like, okay, I'll be whatever you want, but just if you want me to be him, I actually am. If you don't want to, then let's walk away. It's like like a Laurel and Hardy routine. I remember once, this was probably a question that unnerved me the most. A few years ago, I was on a red carpet someplace, and this young woman, put a microphone in my face and said, "I'm here with Tim Daly. What are you doing to enhance your brand?" And I said, "What, my brand?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "You mean like a cow, where you heat up a thing like the AAA ranch and you burn them on the rump?" She said, "No, your brand." I was like, I just have never. I guess this is me being old, but I never thought of myself as a brand like Campbell's Soup. I always thought I was an actor who was all different stuff. But
well,
the world has changed.
Yeah, that's the new thing with the iPhone audition tapes which aren't tapes, I guess you'd say, and the branding. Exactly. But that's the social media, the whole thing. It's a whole package, and it's not the whole real person, the real interaction, like we're talking about, the chemistry between people, the actual physical, whatever. That's the real stuff. But the branding, I don't know.
It's a manufacturing paradigm, right? It's a logo, like the Golden Arches.
And it's like money. It's like the question, what's the answer to everything, to any question. So, all right. So I'm getting a ton of feedback again from your mic. So I think it's a Zoom problem. So I think, can we pick this up and I'll just record off the phone if we make a phone call instead of Zoom for now, and we'll just jump back on Zoom for the video?
Sure. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's not. This happened to me last week and it was like the same thing. And I ended up, but you know what? I figured it out then. So I'll just do it now. So
okay.
I'm going to end this meeting and I'll call you in a few.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry. Unfortunately, I had my phone muted because we're on a Zoom call in there.
Oh, got it.
Jesus Christ.
This is so crazy. It's so annoying, honestly. It's like,
really.
yeah. Like, at least this happened already before so that I knew what to do, because last time this happened last week, I was like, I don't even know what to do about this. And then I just quickly figured out the phone. But yeah. So you can hear me well or not? Because I just want to make sure I'm speaking into the right thing for
Perfectly.
you.
I hear you perfectly. I hope you hear me okay.
Oh, yeah. I hear you perfectly, too. Okay. So this is all working out. It's all right. And then hopefully we'll just do the other thing after. All right. So, all right. So what are some of the things you've been thinking about? How about that? Like, this is really... Have you been self-reflecting a lot since this whole thing has gone down?
Yeah, sure I have. I think that I'm pretty self-reflecting anyway, but thinking about the two things that human beings hate more than anything in the world are change and death. And the two things that human beings can count on 100% are change and death. And here we are faced with both of those things, and it makes us really uncomfortable. We're terrified of it. And you know, if you hung around on the planet for as many decades as I have, you look back and you think about the days when you drove to the airport and parked your car and walked to the gate to pick people up, and all the things that seemed like you were much freer. And yet we're very adaptable, because young people now don't know what they're missing, you know, or what they missed. And who knows if it's better or not, but it's just changed. The world changed significantly after 9/11, and now I think it's going to change again after this. And it's really hard to be patient to see how all of this is going to shake out. But the only thing that I know is that things will change again, right? Because that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. You know what's weird? I like change. I confess, I do. I love change. To me, there's nothing worse than like the sameness, stagnation. I don't like it at all. I like when everything is just kind of thrown up in the air. Is that weird?
Listen, no, it's not weird, and I'm with you. Look, I'm in a job that changes all the time, and I'm different people all the time, and I'm different places all the time, and it's fantastic. But I think that there are things about, you know, common things about our humanity that when they change, they can be very disruptive. You know, like, I mean, just wearing, these are words that I never thought I would hear in my life a couple of months ago, except maybe on Halloween, which is, dude, I really like your mask. Like, I like your mask. Like, I don't want to wear a mask. You know? That's not a change that I really embrace. And I hope that I look back and say, like, oh God, remember when you used to have to wear a mask? So you know, I guess I have a foot in both sides. I hate change, and I embrace it because it's part of my life.
Right. It is. And that's part of that actor thing also. So speaking of change, so how have you personally changed, do you feel like, over the years, over your life?
Oh, how have I changed?
Yeah, because you've evolved, I'm sure, in many ways. We all do, some more than others.
Well, look, I mean, I think the biggest change in my life, I don't know if we've talked about this, but the biggest change in my life was getting sober. Because if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would be alive now. And I did it very early, and I don't wear a lot of the damage that I did to myself on, you know, outwardly. And it's funny to me because often people say to me, you know, well, people write a bio of me. They write a biography of me that has no resemblance to my actual life. And they assume that because I'm, you know, have non-threatening good looks and I'm kind of healthy and have had a great career and blah, 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 that it was all like silver spoon and easy street. And look, I would never complain, given the fact that I'd never went hungry and I was never, felt like I was in any danger of being, shot in my neighborhood or something like that. But I have to work very, very, very hard to not go off the rails. And so that, I think that for me, change is not something where you just step across a line and that you're done. For me, change is a practice. It's something that I have to be involved in every day. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I didn't want to cut you off, but we did not talk about this at all. Actually, all the times that we talked, we have not talked about that. That's interesting. And it's a different side of things that is obviously a big side that we didn't even talk about. It's a big part of your life.
It's funny also because I got sober sort of before it became cool to be sober and go on talk shows and talk about your struggles. And I never thought that would be something that I would want to do or should do, really. I thought it was very personal. And I'm not, I'm not ashamed of anything about it. And I think the world, again, has changed dramatically in terms of, the way we view people who have substance problems and other addictive behavior. But I forget what my point was. Anyway, I just, it's just part of my life. So
when was this? Can you give me the background? When did you decide to get sober and why?
Well, it's funny. I almost don't think of it as a decision. I think of it as sort of an epiphany. I was struck by the fact that I could not survive if I kept drinking, because I was extraordinarily lucky. I was a blackout drunk. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't remember my life, and I just thank God that I didn't hurt myself or anybody else when I was in that state. But I knew that I would if I kept going. And it hit me sort of like a bolt of lightning. And the other thing is that I knew something about it because my mom had been a terrible drunk and she got sober. And her brother was a drunk, her sister was a drunk, my dad was sort of a periodic drunk, his sister and brother were both drunk. It was like alcoholism was, on both sides of my family back to the Stone Age. And when I look back on it, I don't really think I stood a chance, just genetically. Anyway, it gave me an opportunity to have a life, and it wasn't ideal. I wish I didn't, have that. On the other hand, it's afforded me everything.
So what do you mean? What do you mean? It allowed you to have a life and has afforded you. Back up a little. So
getting sober allowed me to have a life,
okay.
And it's given me all the blessings that I have. Do I wish that I didn't have to get sober?
Gotcha.
Do I wish that I could be like most people? And yeah, sure. I could spend a lot more time doing other things than trying to keep myself in line. But anyway, I have it's worked out quite well.
Yeah, it did, and it doesn't always. So, right, sometimes you do have to go through those hard things to be able to get the good things. But right, it's too bad that you even have to. But that's so. What point in your life was that? You must have been. Just
hang on a second.
Yeah.
Wait. Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Bless you. Are those allergies?
I don't know. Probably cat hair or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was 26, so almost 38 years ago.
Okay, that's a long time. So you haven't had a drink since then?
No.
That's major. That's major.
It is. It's a good lesson, you know. I mean, the thing is, I am I guess a member, if there's such a thing, of AA, and one of the things that is really annoying about that organization is the slogans, and they're even more annoying because they're true. The sort of bumper stickers, but one day at a time, as annoying as it is one of the most useful things that you can imagine if you can practice it, because it's a practice that involves doing something small every day, and then one day you wake up and you're like, holy shit, I've been sober for 38 years. Not because I said I'm staying sober for 38 years, but because I said I'm staying sober today.
And it adds up.
Yeah, but it's the same as anything, you know. I think that we're sold, especially in our culture, this idea that if we cross this line, then everything will be settled. You know, if we make this much money, if we have this house, if we have this car, if we buy this stuff, or, you know, lose this many pounds, it will be set. And that's just not the way it works. We have to wake up in the morning. Well, we're talking about award shows. I mean, I think about all the people who have won, that I know, who've won Oscars or Emmys or whatever, and they wake up the next day and they're like, oh crap, this is terrible. You know, now what do I do? Now I have to, you know, get up and brush my teeth and go on with my life. It's like, it doesn't solve everything.
Yeah.
So I'm getting very deep and philosophical. I apologize.
That's good. I like that. Don't you like to get deep and philosophical?
Oh God, I don't know. I'm just imagining the people sleeping when they listen to this.
No. People who listen to Really Famous like that. That's what they like, is they like the deep philosophical stuff.
Okay,
Trust me.
Wake up, people. Wake up.
They're wrapped. They're on the edge of their seat right now. Like, wait, more. Tell me more. Yeah. Okay. So one day at a time, big. And how about the Serenity Prayer? Also powerful?
Hugely powerful and really deceptive, you know, because the thing is, once again, I know a lot of people misunderstand it. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the thing I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And people think, they're like, okay, I'm going to accept this because I can't change it. But guess what? 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, you might be able to change it. So I think that if you really, you know, work on that, then it's all about staying present in your life, right? Because right now, there are things that I can change and there are things that I can't. And to accept those things that I can't until I can change them is the point. So you got to keep present and keep an eye open for the things that you want to change, and not grind on them when there's nothing you can do.
Right. So have there been moments when that came up, like when you realized that? Because that's an interesting nuance of that you may not be able to change something now, but that you can eventually. It's like, how did you learn that?
Okay. I may have told you this story, but I'll tell you when I learned it, when I really took it to heart, because I think I knew it intellectually, but I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, did I tell you that I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro?
No.
Did I tell that story? So I'd just gotten written off private practice and I was really depressed.
Wait, you were written off it because you wanted to be, right?
No.
What? I thought you didn't like that show.
Oh, I hated it, but
right.
I didn't want to be written off.
Oh.
I was, you know, it was not handled well, my departure from that show, in my opinion. Anyway.
Can you tell me why?
Well, it's just, I think that one thing that is hurtful to me is expectations that are unmet. So when we were picked up for season 6, I got a lot of nice emails from our creators saying, oh, I have big plans for your character. I'm so proud of all of you, blah, blah, blah. And 2 weeks later, my agent called and said, you're being written off the show. Now, I'm a big boy. I know why that was happening. It was, again, the answer to that question is money. Um,
Oh,
but I just wish that had come about in a different way. So
makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it just kind of hurt my feelings. Anyway, so this friend of mine calls me up and said, "You want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro?" I said, "Sure." When? He said, like 10 days. I was like, "Oh, all right." And I thought, I'm not like a big, I mean, I'm in shape, but I'm not a big hiker or anything. And so I then promptly broke my big toe by myself. I was trying to crack. I broke my big toe lying in bed. And the doctor said, "You're an idiot. You broke your toe." And I said, "Well, I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro." I said, "Well, it'll only hurt really badly every other step." So I was like, "Oh, God, okay."
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I promised myself that if I made it to the summit, that I would have an epiphany. And somehow I'm genetically predisposed to acclimating to altitude very quickly. So I was fine the whole time. I'm standing on the summit. I make it. Everybody else is throwing up and they're dizzy. They have headaches. I'm just like this dumb Irish, oxen standing there being really happy. And, but no epiphany, right? I mean, I was happy, but I wasn't like there were no brass bands or lightning bolts or going off. So I start trudging down this mountain. It's a long, hard day. It's like an 18-hour day of hiking. I'm trudging down this mountain and I get my epiphany. And except the epiphany is like a kitchen sink, run-of-the-mill bumper sticker epiphany. And that is, it's all in the journey. And I thought, okay, asshole, you wanted brass bands and orgasms and lightning bolts, and this is what you get. It's like the lesson is you never arrive any place except maybe the grave. Like you get to the pinnacle, you got to go down. You climb up, you come down. You wake up, you go on with your life. There's no point in your existence except maybe when it ceases when, you have solved your life. So you got to stay with it, stay present. Oh wait, hang on one second.
Mm-hmm.
That's my sister Tyne calling.
Oh, do you want to take it?
You have to stay. No.
Okay.
You have to stay present, and everything is a practice. Yeah, that's when I learned it.
Okay,
That's
so
when
do you still practice it like normally? Like, do you feel like that shifted things easily and permanently for the way that in terms of your perspective?
Well, again, permanently, right? It's like that thing permanently.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
No, it's still like some days I'm terrible at it. Some days I'm fine. And, there are periods of times that I don't even think about it. And periods of time when it just sneaks up and bites me on the ass. But the point is that I try to, be as conscious and present in my life as I can. And I try to give myself a break when I go unconscious and forget I try to be compassionate to other people too, who are just struggling through this little human life, trying to, make it with a modicum of grace and happiness.
Mm-hmm. So how do you know when you have hit one of the bad spots? Do you like suddenly realize it yourself, or somebody pointed out, or you do something?
I mean, no, it's usually I realize it myself when I think that, if I buy something, it will solve whatever I'm going through, or if I go someplace, it will solve my problems. There's that old saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, totally.
So usually it's neglecting to do the day by day things that gets me in trouble, and then I arrive someplace and I'm unhappy or dissatisfied because I haven't just been where I am. I'm someplace else. I'm in the future. I'm in the past. I'm not in the present. Mm-hmm. And it all sounds very woo woo and very Eastern and all that stuff. But what are you going to do? They were right about some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to write a book?
Nah. Actually, maybe.
Really?
Yes.
So tell me more.
But, well, I have an idea for a book proposal that I've been extraordinarily lazy about finishing. But I can't tell you about it because then it'll be in the universe and someone will snatch it up.
Okay, so it's not a memoir?
No, I couldn't write a memoir because my memory is so weird. Memory is a very strange thing. My sisters and I, we've told these family stories so often, and there was a story that I would tell over and over again about a family dinner that I was at, and I was telling it one time, and my sisters turned to me and said, Timmy, that happened like 6 years before you were born. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? But I swear to God, I would pass a lie detector test telling that story because I was so completely convinced that I was there.
Yeah, but that's totally normal, by the way. That is human behavior. You've probably heard that story. You probably heard it a million times, and it's so vivid in your brain that you can tell the story as if you were there. You think that you were there.
Exactly. I put myself right in it. So I'd be afraid to write a memoir because I would be telling all these lies and people would yell at me and say, you didn't do that. And that never happened. I don't remember it that way. But so I'm afraid of all the grief that I would get.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed when people can write a memoir. Like, I don't know how they remember all of the details to be able to bring them to life like that. I don't know, but it's interesting because I do think that some people remember more than others. Do you remember your dreams? Are you a dream? Yeah.
Sometimes I do, but not always.
Yeah, I do a lot. And I think much more than most people do. And so I was talking to my kids about it, my husband, and we were like, well, like I'm really the only one who truly like regularly remembers. And I have the oddest dreams, believe me. And maybe that's part of it. So I started looking around and researching it a little bit. And there are reasons why some people remember their dreams more than others, just like there are reasons why you remember things, or certain people remember more details than other people.
Right.
And it is very interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do know that I have in my life had huge lapses in memory, not just when I was drinking, but when there are years of my childhood that are virtually gone. And I think that it's I just learned that this is called disassociation.
Yes, that's a thing. Yeah, it's a protective mechanism.
It's a thing, and it's a protective thing, and I tend to do that, and it's very it's sort of disconcerting because it makes me think as I get older, like, oh my God, am I losing my shit here, or what's happening? But it's a protective thing that I have, that is I wouldn't say I've employed, but it has happened to me.
Yeah, so that's not cognitive decline or whatever that is. It's a defense mechanism. It's psychological to protect yourself. It makes sense. It's a healthy thing. So as a kid, that happened to you a bunch of times. What about as an adult? Like, what other times have you forgotten?
I think I recently learned that in psychology, for years and years, it's been fight or flight. And they've added something to that recently, which is fight, flight, or freeze. So when you're in a place where you're under extreme stress, you can fight, you can flee, or you can freeze. And I think that the trauma that I experienced in my childhood made me freeze. And part of my freezing was, hang on one second, Goose, come, go. Putting my dog outside.
Oh, yeah.
I think that when I am overloaded with something that is traumatic, that my nervous system just says, we're going to just, you're going to be present, but you're not going to record this on your hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to.
It's going to go into like some sort of freeze mode. Right. Yeah. That was Tim Daly. Now, if you would like to watch the video of Tim and me, we recorded it at the end of this podcast. You can jump onto YouTube right now, youtube.com/reallyfamous, and watch the two of us as I give him like a quick Q&A. Quick-ish, it's all relative. And if you don't want to do that, you can just keep listening because in a minute, I'm going to run the audio right here for you. But first, big thank you again to the Madam Secretary, Tim Daly, and Leoni fans who helped spread the word about Really Famous. And thank you to Lindsay, Kevin, Bob, Jamie, and Pat for being contributors and supporters to the show. And please do stay tuned because I'm going to hold Tim to that about doing the live show once we're actually back out there again. And you can get tickets. So stay tuned for that. Keep in touch with me. Make sure we're connected on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you have something to say, something to share with me, by all means, I'd love it. Drop me an email, reallyfamouspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with me and Tim, and here's how it ended. So let's jump in. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do like 5 minutes of shorter answer things, but basically the same kind of questions that I normally, if I do.
Okay.
You don't have to. You can stay on as long as you want, but only because I promised you it was only 5 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it tight for you.
Okay. Thank you.
But feel free to spend as much time as you want on each question. Okay. Tim, what makes you anxious?
Oh, I think feeling out of control makes me anxious.
Okay.
Even though I know there's no such thing, it's a constant struggle.
Okay. Do you want to give me an example?
Well, for instance, if no, I don't have an example. I'll take too long thinking one.
Okay. All right.
Everyone will know what I mean. Everyone knows what I mean.
Okay. Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
I think I'm an optimist, or else I'm an ostrich. But I basically, I think, see the good in people and things. And that is not an easy trick, especially in today's climate, because all the news is just dire and horrible and dark. And then there's these little bright moments and then dire and horrible and dark again. So I try to take breaks from the onslaught of bad news so that I can stay optimistic.
So you were born like that, you think, as an optimist?
I don't know. I don't know if I was born that way or not. I think that maybe there was a part of my life when I was more pessimistic, but I'm optimistic now.
Okay. All right. Are you an introvert or an extrovert, would you say?
Introvert all the way.
Totally?
Totally. I'm very, very shy. I don't present that way all the time, but yeah, it takes me a long time to reveal myself. And I think that, it's sort of a detriment to my profession. I would be much better off if I was extroverted, but I'm not.
But don't a lot of actors do well because they are so introverted and they can kind of really just dive in to whatever they're thinking or feeling or whatever they experience?
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of actors are natural extroverts. They want attention really badly. But I think we've talked about this before. I have the ability to vanish. I can disappear in the world and walk around and people won't notice me at all. And I think I've told you that a few times a year back when you could fly in airplanes, people said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm an actor." And they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Madam Secretary." And they said, "That's my favorite show. Who do you play?" I'm like, so then I have to unveil myself, release my cloak of invisibility. And then they're like, "Oh my God, it's you."
That is so fun. That is so bizarre though. Like, I know we talked about this before. Like, what is that? Is that because you're such a good actor that you totally melt into the role that you are playing? Or I don't know, right? That's what we tried to analyze.
Honestly, I think it has something to do with my youth. There was a lot of metaphorical warfare going on. And I just had to, if you can stay invisible, then no one points their weapon at you. So I think I learned how to disappear.
All right. So what's one of the biggest life lessons that you learned as a child? So you probably didn't learn it as a child like that one that you're talking about right there, but something you learned as an adult that you figured out that stemmed from what you experienced in childhood.
Oh gosh. Well, it's something I'm still working on, and that is that it's it's okay to ask for help, which is something I still struggle with mightily. Um, Being, a proverbial needless, wantless child, I brought that with me into adulthood, and it turns out I do have needs and I do have wants, and I just have to force myself to, stick my hand up and say, "Hey, what about me?"
So is that one of your internal struggles that you would say that continues throughout your life?
Absolutely. I struggle with it when like yesterday. So
What happened yesterday?
no, no, no. I was
I
making a
know, I
joke. I'm
know.
just saying. I'm just saying. It's something that is continually go making me crazy because I have to remember that it's okay to, you know, have things and want things and need things that other people do.
Okay. What's one of the biggest lessons you learned about in relationships, either about relationships or while you were in a relationship?
Oh gosh, I would maybe say the same thing. That if you have needs and you have desires, that you have to express them. Um, I think the other thing that I learned is, and this is only recently, is that um, actual intimacy is being honest, and sometimes in a way that might seem not so pretty. Um, and if you're really intimate and really love someone and they really love you, they can look at your dark places and say, okay, that's dark. I don't like that, but let's keep going.
Not only that, but that will actually make you closer. That will enhance
Without
the
it,
relationship.
without a doubt.
Right. So it's like,
And
ironically, the thing that you're kind of scared of doing is actually the
yeah,
best thing that you can do.
yeah. I mean, my experience of conflict was always that it would end the world. Like if I got in a fight with a significant other, that would be it, the relationship over, finished. Turns out that's not true. If someone loves you and you love them, you can actually manage conflict and come to a better understanding of each other through it.
Good lesson.
uh yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. And then
Still working on it.
still working on it.
Yeah.
I wish you lots of luck, and I think it's going to work out well.
I hope so.
Lesson from Hollywood and show business.
Oh gosh. I guess it's that it's to keep reminding myself, this is just for me, why I do what I do and why I love it, why I love telling stories about human beings, and not to be involved or be involved as little as I have to be in the business part of show business. I think I've said, I started out in show business and I wound up in business show. But um, I remember I was talking to a group of college students a few years ago, and I forget where it was. Anyway, these were graduate students in acting. They were serious, significantly talented young people. And I was telling a story about Richard Burton. And I looked out and I realized they had no idea who I was talking about. And I thought, okay, this is a man who, 50 years ago was Brad Pitt. He was one of the biggest stars on the planet. It was Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Uh-huh.
And these young kids who were serious actors had no idea who they were. And I thought, that's why we should all remember the love we have for the art of this and not get so involved in thinking about our legacy or our significance, because 50 years from now, no one's going to remember.
That's right. Right. That is a good point. Perspective. It's all relative and it's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. And a life lesson as a parent from being a parent?
Oh, gosh. To put in time. There's no such thing as quality time. There's only time. And if you put in time, the quality will come when you least expect it sometimes. But you can't put on your calendar, spend quality time with kids, because they might not want to have anything to do with you. And then the next day you might be driving in carpool or something, or walking your kid to school, and you might have the most amazing, deep, interesting conversation. And it might seem like you've, bonded in a way that you've never had before. So put in the time, the quality will come. And the other thing I learned is that kids go away. They hate you, they leave you, they are horrible to you. But if you've put in the time, they'll come back.
That's interesting. That first part was so interesting too, because I think you're right. It's the time in the car or when you're walking next to each other on the street. It's those little unpredictable moments that can be the best for sure. You can't plan for quality time.
You can't put it in your calendar. It's just not going to work out.
Yeah, but that second part is interesting too. So that second part is interesting. So that applies to kids of all ages?
No, I think as they grow older, especially teenagers, they have to differentiate themselves, and they do that by torturing you and thinking that you're an idiot, and being embarrassed by you and hating you and all that stuff. And that's not what they mean. What they mean is, I need to be my own person now, and when I am, I'll come back. And the revenge of parents is that your children grow up and then they go like, oh. I remember when my first grandson was born. My son called me up and said, I said, how you doing? He goes, I'm okay. I just, I haven't seen anyone in a while. I keep having these, my single friends call me up and they say, hey, come on over, we're having a house party. I'm like, great. When is it? It's like Saturday from 10 till whenever. And Sam said, 10? Like, I've been in bed for an hour and a half by that time. I have a little child. And I was like, aha, now you get it. Now you understand. My revenge is complete.
Totally. All right. What was one of your luckiest breaks?
Oof, one of my luckiest breaks. In my career?
Anything, career or life, personal.
Right now I'd have to say it's Madam Secretary, because that solved a lot of problems for me. It was a great part. It was a great part. It's a successful show, and I found the love of my life, and there's a lot of good things that happened from that particular show.
Right. So you did not see that coming.
Made a lot of difference. No, not in a million years.
What did you think it would be when you signed on and said, okay, I'll do the show. I'll move to New York for a little while and it'll be whatever?
I had no idea. And I didn't, I was, in a relationship at the time that was fine. And I thought, wow, this is okay. And it was a person that I loved, but then I met Taya and it was like, whoa, this is a whole different ball game. I didn't know that this could happen at my age.
So was that from working together, do you think, seeing her every day? Or was it the kind of thing where you instantly felt like something was up?
She knew instantly that it was happening. And I was like, I can't, no, she's crazy. I didn't know what to think. But I knew there was trouble, but the best kind of trouble.
And years later, and Madam Secretary's done now, and all's good, huh?
Yeah, all's good.
So you look back and you think, thank God I did that.
Oh yeah, that was a good move.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple of things, just to reflect on a couple other things that you've been in, and then that'll be that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So diner, what's your, just one thought off the top of your head? Like, how do you feel when you think about it?
Love to be able to play that part again.
Yes. You told me that last time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd be better.
I'd be much better. I was too young and too inexperienced and hadn't developed any talent yet. And I wish that I had a little more my wits about me when I was doing that. I would have made some, I think, better choices.
Wings.
Again, I wish that I had appreciated Wings more when I was making it, because I look at it now and that show is, can I curse?
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious. It is a really funny show. And um, I try not to be bitter about the fact that we didn't get our due when we were on the air, but I am. I mean, I will put it up against Frasier or Seinfeld or, I mean, it didn't have any sort of exterior sheen on it, but as a show and the performances and the writing, it was really, really funny. Oh, you went away. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. No. Oh, wait, are you back? Hang on.
Okay. I don't know what happened here.
You're back. I got you.
Hold on 1 second.
I got you. Can you hear me?
Shoot. Hold on. I think something happened with my connection. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Don't hear you. Okay. So let me try something else. This looks like it's a problem with my mic. Hang on.
I think it's your fault.
All right. Let me put this in here.
Hello.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Probably not as good, right? All right.
Not quite as good.
My mic went out, but that's fine. I'll just use the computer one. What was I asking you? Shoot. What did I ask you?
Wings?
Wings. What wings? Okay, so you were saying, yes, it's hilarious. You put it, what didn't have the polish. It didn't have the polish. You said Wings didn't have the polish, but.
No. It's not that it didn't have the polish. It didn't have the exterior sheen. Like this is, there's something weird about this show. Like, the way that a lot of stuff has become in the business where it's not, people don't look at the actual show. They look at the stuff surrounding the show, the story behind the story. It had no story behind the story. It was just a great show. It was hilarious.
And do you keep in touch with anybody from the show?
I do. I keep in touch with Weber. And as you may know, David Schramm, lovely David Schramm, just died recently. And Tommy Church every now and then. Rebecca Shull and I had lunch, I don't know, a year ago. And Amy Yazbek and I exchange emails from time to time. So, yeah. I do.
All right, you forgot somebody.
And Shalhoub. I mean, I see Shalhoub. He, I went and saw him in his play, and he lives down the street. And he's just a darling man.
Okay, and we've talked about this at length, so we don't have to get totally into it. But just the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of The Sopranos.
I think of a seismic change in television.
Okay. Last question. What do you want out of life?
Oh gosh. I think, and I've said this to Taya, that I'm rather like a dog. I need to be fed and walked and pet and, loved, given a bath now and then. And that's about it, but I'm happy.
Okay, Tim. Awesome. Good. We're good. Thank you. We're going to do this live if you're up for it. Do you want to do one of these live shows where you and I sit on stage?
Sure.
In front of an audience? I have to figure out. I have a bunch of places that I've been doing. So I just got started. I actually started in January. It was with Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos, who you know probably, right?
Yeah. I know Brett. He killed me.
Yeah, that's right.
Shot me in the head.
You had that good storyline. So he was my first live show guest. It was his idea. He's like, you have to start doing these live shows. I think it would be really good in front of an audience. So I just started. I did that one at a theater on the Midtown West area. And then I did one at a comedy club, The Stand. And I had a few others planned out. The Friars
Did people show up?
Yeah. I mean, I just started. But yes. So the first one, Michael was filming. So it was the kind of thing where we had to plan it. We were ready to go, but we had to wait on the date until he knew that he wasn't going to be filming 3 days before or something. So we did get people to go. People, he posted on social media and a lot of people did go. But it would of course be better with more time. But I have a bunch of places. I've got the Friars Club wants me to do them there. The Lee Strasberg Institute. So I got a bunch of places. So you just pick where you want to go, or we'll think about it together.
Okay, well, we have to make sure that we can be in a room with people first.
Yes, that would be a good thing. I don't want to be on stage with masks.
Oh, God. I mean, no, I don't want to either. Unless they're like kabuki masks. That would be a whole different thing if we could do like a whole like puppeteer thing.